But what on earth gets us to that bull case of almost $1.5 million per Bitcoin if a bank crisis doesn't?
What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an excellent day today. Bitcoin did take a dip overnight. Some people were freaking out as it did get rejected, but it got set up on a very critical support that we talked about and basically has erased all of that price decline that happened overnight. You can see right here, we are pushing right here, very, very significant on this weekly close, and we are about to potentially enter this blue zone. And as we did talk about this falling wedge pattern, which we have spoken about for months and months on this channel, obviously if we do take this and put this over here, this does give us a target somewhere up here between $52,000 to $58,000. And I don't know if you saw the video at the end of the video yesterday where Kevin Svensson was talking about a potential parabolic trend that if it does play out, Bitcoin could literally head to $60,000. Now you might be saying, well, this is a lot of positive rhetoric based on all the situation that is happening right now. And while I do agree that there are some bad things happening right now, specifically with the SEC, they are now targeting Coinbase, and Kraken has actually shut down bank withdrawals. So it does look like things could be getting a little hairy in the short term. But that being said, there is still some evidence that the institutions, despite all of the chaos going on right now, could actually still be looking to run towards Bitcoin. So there are insane things we need to go over. And by the way, guys, this is a very, very important week for what Bitcoin is setting up for specifically, not just because of this level, but because of several indicators that we've been waiting to actually get confirmation on. So we could be in for a very exciting few days for Bitcoin. So if you are not subscribed to the channel, you're definitely going to want to get subscribed. We got a lot of big things coming out in the next few days. If that sounds good to you, you know what to do. Let's dive in. Let's have a look. So you can see right here, basically what we keep doing is taking out, you can see we have all these pivots from where we had these highs on the way down, right? These levels, and we kept putting in lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. And now we're doing the complete reverse, right? We've had this double bottom. We called it, right? We had a potential Adam and Eve, and I don't know why I just zoomed out right there. You can see right here that basically we're just taking them out one by one, right? Reclaiming it, acting as resistance, flip support, reclaiming it, resistance, support, right? Reclaiming it, resistance, support, right here. The next one, right? Currently, this is acting as the resistance. So what does this mean? Well, there's obviously two things that are going to end up happening. We're either going to have a fake out, come down here, retest this $25,300 level because that was the ultimate level that we had said to be careful about, and, continue to the upside, or we consolidate and we break up to about, this is going to sound crazy, but about 32,600. And then I would believe we would have that correction back down. But either way, guys, the bulls have maintained a lot of strength right now. And look at how crazy this is, right? We knew that we had this massive, let me put it to like the weekly or something so you can kind of see a little bit better. So you can see right here that we had this parallel channel. Okay, no, the weekly is not going to work. The weekly, nope, we're going to have to keep it on the lower time frame because you just can't see it. So ultimately, look, we have this channel right here, right? You guys know we had this parallel channel. We fell out of it, and then boom, we came to the upside, and now look what's happening. This, which was the previous resistance right here, and I know my lines are sloppy, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Now, that resistance right here has become that support, right? So basically, we have seen that confirmation, and we've moved back into the heart line. So the next short-term goal is about almost $29,000 even. So we went over these exact levels in yesterday's video. If you guys did miss it, this is why you got to get subscribed. You got to watch the channel, especially if you're learning to trade. I highly recommend, obviously non-financial advice, but be careful out there with some of these centralized exchanges. If you guys do want to learn how to trade, I suggest using a decentralized exchange. That way you don't have to worry about withdrawal limits. You don't have to worry about your funds being on an exchange. Yes, it takes a little extra step. You have to learn how to set up a wallet. Big deal, right? If you want to be in crypto, you got to learn to protect your own keys. But if you want to check out that tutorial popping up above, if you want to check out some centralized exchanges right now, Bybit specifically actually has a $30,000 bonus. So you can check that out in the links below. But yeah, I mean, this is exactly the level that we spoke about. And, but again, we are starting to get to that level where we could heat up, right? Anything above this blue zone really could be that territory to be careful. So yes, we could go up to 32, but really anything above 30,000, basically let's round it to 31,000, you're starting to heat up, right? You're starting to really potentially get overheated. You have seen the fear and greed index actually getting pretty high into the greed territory. And interestingly enough, right now, this week, which after having a massive week on Bitcoin dominance, we are starting to see a little bit of weakness. Very minimal, not much, but this might mean that, people made a lot of money on the Bitcoin trade and maybe they're hopping into the altcoins right now. A lot of people excited about Arbitrum specifically, side note. But, people were asking me about that. And yeah, I mean, it had a lot of opportunities to clearly get into it, but you could see like over here, if you guys want to trade this on BitGet, but yeah, it's down like 74%. Maybe it went up a little bit. Okay, 72%. So, if you didn't get that airdrop hopping into this trade right now, pretty scary, right? I mean, it went all the way up to about $12. So if you sold up here, congratulations. But if you do want to trade that is over on BitGet. Of course, BitGet is a centralized exchange, but I'm not here to talk about altcoins or anything like that. Specifically, what we're looking for is the ultimate indicator. The ultimate indicator being Bitcoin, in my opinion. That's the one that everyone pays attention to, and it often decides whether or not the overall market is in a positive place, right? Bitcoin is like the tide that lifts all the boats, right? So we have these three indicators right here. We have the Super Guppy, which I know everybody hates the name of it, but I didn't come up with the name, I'm just using it. We also have Wave Edge right here, and we also have Market Cipher. All of these you can use below if you're interested. And also there is a trading view bonus going on right now. If you guys want to check that out, that's below as well. But what we're waiting for is to see on this weekly. So number one, we have had this confirmation right here on Wave Edge flipping from green into purple, right? So we'll take that. That's good. We also had this anchor wave and this trigger wave right here, down here on the Market Cipher, right? But we have not seen the money flow on the Market Cipher come into the green just yet, right? So we're waiting on that. And we have not seen the Guppy switch from red into neutral, right? Because once it does that, that historically has basically always signaled the end of every bear market, right? You can see back here, it's pretty much been the end and full on confirmation that the bull is back on. So essentially, we got one so far, but we're waiting for this to move into the green and we're waiting for this to turn neutral. And both of those could possibly confirm this as soon as our close. So by Monday, we could have an answer as to whether or not this is a true honest beginning to a bull run, or if it's just been one crazy giant fake out in nothing but a huge downtrend, right? So that's the case. But as I said, regardless, a lot of people who have been calling this a suckers rally, guys, okay, it's a suckers rally. It's a suckers rally that went from 15,005 all the way up to 29,000. Like, if you were just sitting on the sidelines in cash doing absolutely nothing, you missed out on basically a 90% move. So that's why I would rather trade the situation, or, if you don't want to do that, dollar cost average, because just sitting there being like, oh, I'm just going to wait for $10,000 Bitcoin. What if it doesn't come? Just think about it. So that's why, in that scenario, not financial advice, but obviously dollar cost averaging or at least getting into some kind of a trade would have been the way to go from the bottom to here. But here's the thing, guys. Let's get back to the macro. We're starting to lose our track here. The National Bureau of Economic Research, which provides the start and end dates for recessions, has issued a working paper that says none of the big banks would be able to survive a bank run for even 30 days. They actually specifically mention negative findings is most clear-cut for Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley. And these guys are huge, right? These are the banks that are potentially too big to fail, and they're saying a 30-day run would be catastrophic. which is weird. They're saying that all this is happening and Operation Choke Point 2.0, and they're cutting off access, and people are going to get trapped in crypto, or they're going to get trapped outside of crypto. But yet you're still seeing Cathie Wood, ARK Invest, saying that they're looking to allocate between 2.5% to 6%. And, well, I'll just play the video for you and you let me know what you think.
We know you're a long-term investor with long-term calls, but what on earth gets us to that bull case of almost $1.5 million per Bitcoin if a bank crisis doesn't?
One of the things that happens in a crisis is liquidity dries up. So that tends to hurt assets. And the fact that Bitcoin moved in a very different way from the equity markets in particular was quite instructive. You'll find the building blocks of those price targets in our Big Ideas 2023. So ARK Big Ideas 2023, and they are, for the base case, I would suggest quite conservative. We've dialed some of them down since last year. I know that corporate treasuries pulled away from Bitcoin because the regulators were pulling them away from Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So we've pulled back there. But we do believe that the behavior of the price through this crisis is going to attract more institutions, for example. We've done a report targeting institutional investors and the allocation that they should make if they care about this new asset class diversifying their portfolios. And I believe it's somewhere between 2.5% and 6.5%. So not crazy. These are the sorts of allocations they would have made to emerging new categories of assets like real estate in the 70s, emerging markets and small cap in the 80s and 90s.
But it's obviously not all sunshine and rainbows. It's been very tough times lately. For example, Kraken has suspended automated clearinghouse deposits and withdrawals, the ACH, right? You've seen that before, due to Silvergate's closure. So is Operation 2.0 Choke Point working? Well, Kraken is also working on their own bank right now in Wyoming, and I believe if we come down here, it says that some of the things that they will have in their bank include deposit accounts in USD and crypto assets, multiple funding and payment options, institutional custody products, qualified custody for advisors and broker-dealers, and IRAs, and much, much more. So, you know, as one falls, another one picks it up, and even as you guys can see over here, Zappo Bank is now allowing you to be the first bank in the world to be fully integrated with USDC. Now, on the flip side, unfortunately, they have had to recently leave the United States, okay? But this sort of brings us to everything that's going on right now. And, you know, I mean, as far as the US is concerned, if we actually come over here, just to talk about this story right now, you know, Jeremy Allaire, he's the CEO of USDC Coin, and I'll get to the SEC story in just a bit, but he says the ongoing uncertainty around the global banking system could end up pushing the cryptocurrency market into a more gray area in terms of regulation. And I've been saying this, and I've been saying this, and I've been saying this. The US can do what they want. They can ban it. They can stifle innovation. You're not stopping it. It's just going to go to other jurisdictions. And they are going to reap the benefits. It's going to happen. There is a major shift happening right now. You know, I'm from the US. I love America, everything to be said. But at the end of the day, you know, to blindly just assume that we will always just be the number one, we will always just be the superpower. Well, if you're not embracing the technology, the big trend, the shift globally, you could get left behind, right? It's just a reality, right? Whether, you know, it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's true. And he emphasized that ongoing banking crisis may have a potential to hurt crypto firms in the US rather than those regulated in other jurisdictions. Ironically, the players who have had the strongest position with US regulation and US banking system integration are considered unsafe, with fears that assets could be stranded. Allaire went on to say that SVB contagion could potentially drive the crypto markets to a less regulated area, urging US policymakers to think about what happens next. And listen to this, just to stick around, because I want to just say something. Addressing the U.S. White House and the U.S. Congress, he argued that there has been no situation in the past 10 years where the U.S. so urgently needed a clear, coherent, and pragmatic policy. We are in a serious risk of seeing an entire strategic technology arena slip away from US leadership. Right now, market participants are shifting into platforms with no oversight, totally opaque bank and risk exposures, and histories of lax financial risk integrity controls. This doesn't end well. Now, while we have had some international turmoil, that is for sure, it's kind of crazy when you look at it, and I don't want to jinx any platforms. Please get your crypto off of exchanges if you are not actively trading. If you're trading on centralized exchanges, then that's the risk you're taking. I have crypto on centralized exchanges because there's some things I can't do on decentralized exchanges, right? I just simply can't do it yet. I can do it over on, BitGet or Bybit or Femex or something, right? Thank God that at this point, nothing that I have ever talked about. I try to vet as good as I can, but it's actually funny that you've seen the US things kind of going down, right? Like Celsius, which is offering to US customers, right? And, FTX, which also had the US branch, but yet all these sort of like offshore guys are still kind of hanging out. It is kind of like interesting just to kind of throw that out there. Not saying that something won't collapse at some point, but again, making it difficult. Today, Coinbase received a Wells notice from the SEC focused on staking and asset listing. A Wells notice typically precedes an enforcement action. Dave Dennis says, "Can you explain this in NFL terms?" He goes, "Okay, imagine you've got both football and soccer refs on the playfield, but we're actually playing pickleball, the fastest growing new sport in America. The refs can't really agree on the rules of this new game, and one of them decides to change a call that they made back in April of 2021. You can see right here, this is the actual official Wells notice that they've been issued with right here, literally. And, you had the CFO over at Coinbase, and he said they have been trying. It's not like they're trying to be dark or be gray or be vague or whatever you want to call it. They are literally trying to be transparent, right? And you can see right here, over the past 9 months, Coinbase, has met with the SEC more than 30 times, sharing details of our business to build a path to registration. During this time, the SEC has given basically zero feedback on what to change or how to register. Instead, today, we just received a Wells notice. When Coinbase filed to go public in 2021, our S1 described our business in as much detail as we possibly could. The SEC approved us to go public, knowing all of the details, and now they're changing their mind about what is allowed. The truth is that today there is no clear rule book from the SEC on crypto, and efforts to engage with the SEC are met with silence or enforcement actions. They have not followed a good faith rulemaking process with the industry as required under the APA. Even when giving us Wells notices, the SEC wouldn't specify any assets or tell us about specific assets, giving them concern, or what specific arguments that we've made on staking that are wrong. Instead, they were simply told to consider the chair's generic statement. It's hard to throw the rule book at an entire economic sector when there is no rule book to actually be thrown. So what happens next? He says, and this is probably what's going to happen, we avail ourselves to the court system to finally start to get some clarity for the crypto industry in the US. Ironically, establishing some case law may be our best shot at getting the regulatory clarity that the industry deserves. So, of course, we've talked about the fact that these types of industries actually benefit better from operating sort of vague, right? Because by doing so, they're able to charge these penalties and these fees and all these other things because nobody really knows what's going on. But if they do start taking these cases to court and we start getting a judge ruling on these cases and getting specific answers to our questions, now we can take that decision from that court case and apply it across all other sectors and all other types of cryptos and assets and stuff like that. So it's unfortunate that that's the way that we have to do things here, but inevitably, you could be seeing some regulation coming soon. Now, just to talk about some of the sort of sentiment coming out of the Biden administration, they did recently release a new economic report that extensively covers Bitcoin and crypto, mentioning the two terms a whopping 305 times in total. Obviously, they don't quite understand it yet. Here's what they said. The report tracks Ethereum's switch to proof of stake and appears to lack a fundamental understanding of how Bitcoin consensus is established, referring to the decentralized network as if it were a company with the ability to make official statements. They said, despite Ethereum's switch to proof of stake, Bitcoin has not announced plans to make a similar change. Yes, the CEO of Bitcoin has not come out officially and, declared the potential change to proof of stake, which, by the way, I would never approve of Bitcoin switching to proof of stake ever. Not to bash on what Ethereum does. I love Ethereum. I use Ethereum on a daily basis. I think Ethereum has a place for sure. But proof of stake really is kind of similar to just what we already have right now, right? The rich get richer. Those that are in power stay in power. Bitcoin, I guess you could say, okay, if you could 51% it, but ultimately it still requires, the consensus of all the nodes, and it does require proof of stake, which does require energy, which unfortunately does require money, right? But again, talking about Bitcoin being this monster on, the global environment. First of all, today Bitcoin literally accounts for about 0.42% of all electricity usage. 0.42%. It's not even half of a percent. And considering what the Bitcoin network is and what it does, securing the safest network on planet Earth for half of a percent, I don't know, guys. Let's rethink our argument here. Oh, also, not to mention that less than 0.5% of energy that they're complaining about is estimated to be as much as 59.5% renewable. And you'd be saying, well, why would it be renewable? Well, because obviously if these guys are mining, it makes more sense financially for them to be using renewable resource, right? If you're a Bitcoin miner, you want to find the most renewable resource possible. You want to set up something with hydro or something with wind, or you can use a volcano like in El Salvador, right? It just makes sense financially if you think about it. So basically, this effectively means that Bitcoin is using the same amount of electricity as a medium-sized advanced economy. The report also cites Bitcoin's scarcity and its maximum supply of 21 million coins, but declares paper money is superior due to the existence of central banks, which print cash without impunity. So interesting, straight from the horse's mouth, right? Fiat is better. But according to Mick Mulvaney, he does say that we could be closer than we think to getting some form of an answer. He says Democrats aren't all on one side and Republicans aren't all on one side either. I do think in this Congress, which has got functionally about 14 to 16 months left before it sort of shuts down before the next election, you will get a meaningful piece of legislation on blockchain and crypto, what we're referring to collectively as digital assets. So whether you are in fear that it could be something negative or you are thinking that it could be something positive, at the end of the day, it's better to just know, right? If they have a problem with it, okay, that sucks, but we know. If they're all for it, great, then we know. If they're somewhere in the middle, okay, we know. But when you don't let us know, when you keep us in the dark, that, I believe, is what truly stifles innovation the most. And even like the Office of Financial Research said, fully integrating a digital currency may improve household welfare, but banking sector stability could suffer. So there you go. So basically, guys, in a nutshell, we are waiting to see what happens with Bitcoin. We are waiting for this confirmation, and I lost my track right here. Here we go. I want to see what happens if we get money flow flowing into the green. We have the VWAP coming up, right? We have this anchor wave, trigger wave. We have the wave edge moving into the purple, and we're looking for that neutral on the guppy. And if we get that on Wednesday, then I'm just going to basically start saying, yeah, we're probably back in a bull run. If not, then we have to just keep playing it out in no man's land. But as I said, there's been a lot of people out there that have been saying, no, just sit in cash, don't buy the dip, don't trade long. And unfortunately, those people missed out on a lot of opportunity. So that being said, guys, thank you so much for coming back to the channel. I think I'm losing my voice right here. If you guys do want to learn how to trade, make sure you check out the free tutorial popping up right here right now. And also check out that TradingView link. There's like a bunch of bonuses, like 40% off or something. They got a crazy deal going on. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I make these videos. My name's K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.